Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Haskincast podcast. I am very excited to have you here as always, and a pre-Thanksgiving episode. Here in the States, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. If you're listening within the time frame I'm releasing it, if you're listening to it on Thanksgiving, it's today, and if you're listening to it tomorrow, then it's sometime after Thanksgiving. So welcome, and whatever you're doing, please stay safe, stay warm wherever you are. I know a lot of parts of the country are already getting fairly cold. I've seen some deep snow pictures already from some places, especially back east. So please stay warm, everybody, and stay safe out on the roads. Please be smart. We have Uber now, so if you get a little too tipsy on the holidays, please find a way to get home safe. That's the most important thing. It's always tragic when we lose somebody, but somehow it seems worse on a holiday, which is just meant for a little extra joy and celebration during this time of year. So that's my little, my public service announcement. Today, I have my good friend Greg Germann on the show. Greg is a touring drummer. He goes on tours of theatrical shows. Right now, he's touring with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He's out east, so if you're out east this time of year, please check your schedules, see if it's coming to your town, and go see it. I've heard it's quite a fantastic show. I won't get to see it until later this coming year when they come to Vegas, so it'll be a while. And by then, many of you will hopefully have seen it and enjoyed the show. I met Greg a few years ago when I was living in LA. Absolutely great guy. We've met in person, which always adds a little extra element, I think, to a friendship. And he introduced me to some great people that are dear friends of mine here in Vegas. And we met through our mutual friend, Dean Ogden, who has his own podcast on The Hit. He created the Scorecast podcast, which I was the editor of for a couple of years. And also he and I had started Rebel Creative podcast together, which has some great tips on different forms of being an artist and different ways to maybe maximize your time and your effort. So there might be some things to check out there for you as well. I worked on, I think it was the first 50 episodes of that. So lots of good stuff. You can find both of those on iTunes. Also On The Hit is on iTunes. So check out Greg's episode there. And there's some really good guests that Dean had on. So feel free to peruse those episodes. And if somebody seems interesting to you, check it out. If they don't seem interesting to you, I would still check it out, because especially if you're in the music business, there's lots of interesting things in every single episode. So without further ado, let's get to Greg. Let's welcome Greg Germann to the show. Greg, how are you today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to thank you for making time. Our schedules have been a little crazy as of late, but you actually just got off stage.
I did about 15 minutes ago.
And here you are doing a podcast. And you just started a new tour with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Are you? Yeah. So you're doing? Is it just North America on this tour?
Yes, North America. We're going to go to. Actually, the next stop after here is we're in Philadelphia now, and we go to Toronto for about 7 weeks. 7
weeks in Toronto. Wow.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of different locations, or you just buckle down for a couple months?
In Toronto, it's the same theater. Yeah. Yeah, it has to do with ticket sales.
Right, yeah. That they must really love their entertainment up there.
They do, or chocolate, I don't know.
Yeah, so I have not seen the musical version of this show. Would you say it follows the movie fairly well, or does it kind of take its own direction?
It actually follows the book.
The book, okay.
It's more like the book, yeah. It's really fun. It's a fun ride. It's Mark Shaman wrote a lot of the music, and film score. Like some of his stints in Seattle, and he actually did the South Park movie, I think, too. But he also wrote Hairspray. That was like a big
yeah, that's right.
Show that he wrote. He wrote the music, and it's very cartoon-like.
Really,
it's like a lot of the music is very like Looney Tunes. Yeah, playing some like really fast like 2 beats, and a lot of different styles in the show too. Just really fun. You get to play some big band stuff. You get to play like a rumba, quote unquote Latin number.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'd be fun.
It is fun. It's a lot of fun. and a lot of zany tempos, I guess you'd call it. Tempo de ludicrous.
And that's got to be fun for you because, if you're just up there playing 4/4 all the time, it just, there's only so much you're going to enjoy versus something you can really kind of push yourself a little bit on.
Yeah, I actually shed this book for about 3 months before we even started rehearsal.
Really?
So, yeah, it was the original drummer who did it on Broadway, this guy, Warren Oates. He gave me all the materials. He gave me like a pit recording and like an audio recording, and he gave me a copy of the drum book that they used on Broadway, and I was able to learn it and kind of copy a lot of what he did and sort of get the gist of what it was. And then when we got to rehearsals in New York to do the tour, they sort of morphed things. They cut one of the songs, they added a whole new song. They changed some of the underscoring, So a lot of it is you try to know the show as best you can, but what do they say? Expect the unexpected.
Sure. Sure. And, and I would imagine that every director kind of wants to tell the story at least a little bit in their own way. I'm sure from a legal perspective, there's certain things that they have to do. Traditionally, there's certain things that they have to do, but I'm sure everybody wants to put a little bit of their own touch on their tour of the show.
Sure. Well, this, we had a director named Jack Doyle, and one of the things that he would say is, you never really get it right. He actually directed the Broadway version too.
Oh, okay.
So he already knew the material, but he said, you never really get it right. You just kind of open. So it's basically saying everything is, even when it's open, it's still sort of a work in progress, and you're still trying to figure out little ways to tell a story. I mean, that's what's sort of different about theater and film, because once it's in film, it's locked.
Right.
Once that picture's locked, it's you can edit it here and there, but it's pretty much, unless they shoot another scene.
Yeah.
So with theater, I mean, we're sort of locked now too, but there's improvisation on stage sometimes, and especially a show like this, because let's be honest, Willy Wonka's kind of out of his mind, so.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, obviously, you guys have your set tempos and things, but the actors aren't going to speak in exactly the same speed in exactly the same way. So you have to have that, breathable setup to where you can roll with, okay, well, somebody didn't get to their spot on stage in time, so we had to drag this scene a couple seconds more. You have to be able to roll with that, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that falls on the conductor, and then he watches the stage, and we just try to follow as best we can to try to make everything work. But the conductor is really the mediator, the go-between between the stage and the band. Sure. That's why he's so important. Exactly. And, you got to watch somebody swing a baton once in a while. That's just fun. Yeah. Now, how much of an adjustment do you guys have to make when you go from city to city and you're playing in a different theater? Because it's not like Cirque du Soleil where you bring the tent and you bring the theater with you. You're really kind of just going into whatever setup in the venue you have. True. I would say that every theater has its own set of challenges. Sometimes it's spatial. Sometimes the pit lives deeper. Like, for example, when we were in Chicago, the pit was so high so the conductor could see the stage that I couldn't even see the conductor's hands or anything. I had to watch him on a monitor. Oh, wow. And there's other cities where he's literally right in front of me, and I can see him he's almost on the same level as me, maybe a couple feet higher, and I see him just fine. Mm-hmm. In this theater, he's sort of in the middle, so I can watch his hands, but it's kind of like Ichabod Crane conducting me. I don't see his head. Oh, you don't? Not at all? No, not at all. I see his hands. I see his hands move, but above a certain plane, I can't see it. So I can see about up to just the bottom of his neck, and that's it. Well, being kind of around Halloween season, it's probably appropriate.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice fall, day. And
Right.
we're in the Northeast, so hey, it's cool.
So do you always have the video monitor then as a backup?
Yeah, we always have the video monitors. This one, the problem because it's digital, it's actually on a delay.
Oh.
So unless everybody's watching on the monitor, it's really weird because it's like watching like football live and then on the TV. It's like that kind of delay.
Right.
And some of these tempos are so fast, you can't really go with the monitor unless, because the most important thing is be together, not necessarily right. So,
yeah,
it's been a problem since day one, but we try to make it work the best we can. I mean, a lot of it is, when the conductor's in front of me, I just try to memorize as much of the book as I can, and just try so I can watch him as much as I can and not have to look necessarily at the music so much. But there are other numbers that are clicked, and then I can just go with the click, and it's all good.
Right. Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you because you don't actually sight read during the show, or are there certain parts that you might do that?
Oh, well, yeah, you don't really sight read. I mean, I don't think you could ever, as a drummer, you can never sight read and play a show because unless there's like a brand new chart or something, then you have to sight read. Mm-hmm. But because the whole thing about being a drummer is that there's all these like transitions, and you're kind of, the conductor can do his thing, but as a drummer, you're what everybody hears. So everybody plays with you, So, sort of, the conductor can do the tempo, but the drummer's kind of the enforcer. Or you could say it as the conductor is the driver, but the drums are kind of like the engine that makes it all go.
Right, yeah. And it's the thing is that they can all sync to you if they're a little bit off, because you're going to be the one constant that's going to cut through everything no matter what.
Yeah, and on this tour too, it's not just me. There's a core of us. So there's two keyboard players, a conductor, and a bass player, and me, and we kind of all drive the show together, to make it go. But there's some transitions where it's like it's kind of crazy. We'll be playing one tempo, and then another tempo will just come out of nowhere to get to the next one. So we have to kind of figure out, we had to kind of figure this all out in rehearsal and how to drive it, and and now with this tour, so we have the five of us that are 4 players, and then we hire like I think 8 or 9 people, local musicians.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's also a big. That's also a big, big endeavor. Endeavor every week,
Sure.
So.
Well, it's the unknown variable every time you go to a new city because you've got your guys, you're comfortable, you know your stuff. Then you go somewhere else and you're adding people to the mix that aren't familiar.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of look at it as like we're kind of coaches. So our job is to kind of like, I mean, at least for me, I try to make everyone feel comfortable and sort of give encouragement. And if something's really, really crazy, then maybe you can give them, give them a note or talk to the conductor. Or, there is a hierarchy, so you don't want to like overstep your bounds. But
right.
If somebody has a question or something, you want to be there to help them because, at the end of the day, it's about the show, not about the music. And you don't want the band, local musicians, to be like sort of the reason why the show isn't as enjoyable.
Sure.
When something could be fixed.
Right. And you also want them to walk away with a good experience from their effort in the whole thing, and then them to want to continue and do another show, or maybe next time you're back in town, you play with them again and you kind of have that rapport already. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what happened to me on this. I mean, I've been to 4 towns, and already I've seen a lot of people that I've seen in the past when on Wicked, or I've done a bunch of tours now, so picking up locals is sort of
sure
old hat for me in a way. So so what we do is we travel all day Monday, and then we have a rehearsal Tuesday morning, and sort of get the locals up to speed, and then we have a sound check with the locals, and then we do the show that night. So Tuesdays are crazy long. So but it's always good to get some new blood in there and switch it up a little bit. Because my last tour, everyone was there from day one, and everyone was really cool. But it's always nice. It's always nice to get a different take once in a while with some new people, and sort of even it's just like going out to lunch and hearing about their experiences. Because you can learn something from everybody, right? So.
I really believe that, and I try to absorb as much as I can from different people, because everybody comes to wherever they're at right now is a culmination of all of their experiences, all of their beliefs and their notions and what they've been exposed to, which is not going to be the same as anyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. I love that you get to have that variety in there, and that you get to it's not just like, okay, we're going to be all together for the next 9 months. We're going to hate each other come month 3 because you've got other people that are coming in. You don't get the opportunity as much to get as sick of each other as you might, spending so much time so close together.
Sure.
But you got that down, though, because you've been touring for years.
I have been touring for years. Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of used to it now. but you have to learn. You have to learn things as you go, so... when I started, my very first tour was back in '99, and I toured with the Big Apple Circus, and that was a whole different kind of experience than this is actually, because part of it was because it was acrobats first of all, and the other thing was that there was all this cultural diversity. We had we had this one guy that would ride a bicycle, and he was from Australia. Then we had another guy who was British that did all these tricks with all these birds. And then we had all these acrobats. And it was interesting because it was the first time I really saw nationalistic behavior. Mm-hmm. Like the Russians and Ukraine, the Ukrainians.
Right, yeah.
It was this whole thing, but their kids would play together because they were training together.
Sure, yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting. It was just a different kind of scene, and it was more family oriented because the Russians all had their kids, and their kids were training to be in the family business, which was being acrobat. So it became a whole thing. It was really, and I was only 22 at the time, so I was really absorbing a lot of that stuff. It was really cool to kind of be a part of something like that.
And that's going to be something that you'll remember because it's such a unique experience as opposed to, every tour is unique in its own way. The people that you work with, the places you go, the people you meet. But that is such a different type of thing than the normal thing that you would do or might do again. That's always going to stand out as a memorable experience.
Yeah, I will say that hanging out with clowns will change your life.
Yeah. It's funny. Now it's International Clown Week because to me, we talk about, especially we just had the election and stuff yesterday, and we talk about how big, we are in politics and go USA, this and that. But we only give the president one day of celebration a year. But International Clown Week is a week for something that most people don't even like or are afraid of, or, very few people really like clowns. They might grin and bear it, but most people just hate or fear clowns. And I was talking about this on another one of my episodes, and I think it's because of that fake smile that's painted on. There's an extreme amount of, getting the rickety van kid.
Yeah, well, people see it and they go, "Oh my God, that's the clown," right? But the thing that I learned about what a clown actually told me, who was the guy who was the ringmaster, he said, people think the clown's job is supposed to have a personality, like be happy or sad or guilty or whatever. He said that's completely wrong. And it's probably the reason why people don't like clowns is because a clown has one job, and that is to be completely insane.
Really?
And think about that. And if you're walking down the street and someone's acting completely insane, how does it make you feel?
Well, I live in Vegas, so that's pretty normal here.
That's true. But does it make you feel uncomfortable at all?
Yeah, I might shy to the other side of the street a little bit. Sure, yeah.
Exactly, like in New York. In New York, someone just starts walking down the street, starts screaming. You're like, all right, Go walk down the next block.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I could see that. And, I mean, I think that a lot of the expectation depends on the setting. If you hire a clown for a kid's birthday party, yeah, you expect them to be constantly entertaining people, juggling balloon animals, whatever you're going to do. But outside of that environment, it really depends on but that doesn't change the expectation of the audience because they expect that, you're either going to be the sad clown, the red skeleton clown, or you're going to be the jovial, let's juggle something.
Sure. And, anything else, like, how do you shut that off when you're done?
Right.
After you're done with the act, right? Yeah.
Lots of seltzer.
A lot of self-medicating, probably.
Yeah, we don't really know what's in that bottle, but I have my suspicions.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you were touring, I think you were with Wicked, I think, when we met, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, when we met in Vegas, I was with Finding Neverland.
Right, but I mean, when we connected.
When we connected with Dean, yeah, that was Wicked. That was like my final city, actually, of Wicked.
Yeah, that's right. It was, yeah. But you and I connected because you went on the podcast Dean Ogden's On the Hit.
Yep.
And then he connected us after that, and we got to know each other. And then you introduced me to a couple of absolutely wonderful people here who I'm hoping will come on the show at some point. But I have to tell you, in this community, with the people that I've met, with you and Dean and Angela and Alex and different people here in Vegas, there is such an amazing camaraderie among people that don't have to compete for jobs versus whether it's film scoring or getting like a corporate composing gig or being a stage musician where it's very, very cutthroat and competitive. I like this world a little bit better.
Well, actually one of my best friends when I was in college, because I was raised sort of in a little bit of that like competition thing and, healthy competition, but you got to be competitive with people and this and that and the other thing. And then like one of my best friends just said, he said, I see that you're, my friend Jim Patton actually, who's an incredible piano player. He said, I see that you're kind of competitive with people and, it might be better to like be friends with them as opposed to being competitive with them. Because if you're going to help somebody out, you're going to help out someone that is like a cutthroat competition person or someone that's actually your friend.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. And then because we're all trying to do the same thing, we're just trying to make a living, right? It's as you get, I think you get older too, you just realize the perspective. It's like, we're all killing ourselves. Like especially when I was in college, we were all killing ourselves for these $50 jazz gigs. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it was like at the same time, it was like, you take a step back and you look at the big picture and you say, well, why was I being like that? And then as you get older, you realize that like all these people that I'm quote unquote competing with, I can learn from all these people. I can learn something from everybody, and a lot of it's what to do. A lot of it's what's not to do.
Right. Yeah, that's just as important. And you can learn that from the same person or different people. But that's just it. It's learning something. It's building together, I think, just to create a better thing. But I think the fear is, there's so many players, but there's only so many gigs. So I better, not tell somebody about this audition, or I better kind of, keep this one to myself and not tell anyone I'm going because I don't want them to show up and be my competition.
True.
I think there's plenty of work for everybody.
There is. And it's a lot of it, if you believe in karma, I think, a lot of times you go out and you help somebody, if you do it for the right reasons, even if that person doesn't be someone that helps you back, if you go out and you do enough good things for people, you'll get a good reputation for being a good person. And I think in the end, that'll help you out. I mean, I can give you a prime example of something in my career that I think kind of helps me was we were having back in 2006, I think. There was all these auditions for tours, and so there was like an email between like me and like two other drummers or three other drummers for this Dirty Rotten Scoundrels tour, and I think literally 2 days before the audition was even supposed to happen. You know, they give you the music for like 2 weeks, and you work on it and all this kind of stuff. And they canceled the audition because the person that the conductor had previously worked with became available.
Oh. Ouch.
So, right. So, like, I mean, it was disappointing, but, like, rather than be, like, upset about it, I kind of looked at it as, like, well, you know what? I'm on the list. I'm almost there.
Right.
And, you know, what I did was I wrote the contractor, like, just actually saying how appreciative I was that he even get the opportunity to even be on the list. And then, you know, if anything in the future shall ever arise, you know, I would love to reconnect in the future.
Yeah.
And so, like, we kind of left on really good terms. So fast forward to, like, another 3, maybe 4 or 5 months later, I got an off-Broadway show, and we were getting comp tickets. So I just emailed the contractor. I said, you know, I never got to play for you for that audition, but I'm doing this show in town right now, and we're going to be open for another 2 weeks. If you want a comp ticket, you know, please let me know, and I'd love to, you know, help to hang out to meet you.
Right. Yeah.
And so he actually responded with, "Hey, can I come Saturday?"
Nice.
And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And so what happened was, he came Saturday. He gives me a call like 5 minutes after the show's over. He says, "Hey, come outside. I want to talk to you."
Mm-hmm.
So I go out there and I talk to him. He goes, "Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but the guy that's doing the Scoundrels tour is going to be leaving the Scoundrels tour. Would you still be interested in doing it?" Wow. And I said, "Absolutely, I would, because this is closing, you know, in a couple of weeks, and you know, I don't know when you need me, but if it's after those 2 or 3 weeks after this closes, I'd love to go out on the tour." Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, you know, he kept his word. My show closed. He calls me up and said, "Hey, we start January 7th if you're interested still." And I said, "Great." And then boom, there it is.
Right.
You know, but had I reacted reactionary to that initial, like, everything getting canceled, you know, maybe that might have affected me in a very negative way. And instead, I think since we left, it was in a positive way, and I was so close. And, you know, my regret wasn't that the audition was canceled or the gig. It was more about, oh, what a shame I never got to play for him.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. He didn't at least get to see you do something so that he could keep you in mind for the future, or maybe one of his friends is putting a show together and mentions your name. Yeah. But that's
exactly.
It's not even just about building relationships. It's just about treating people decently and, you know, caring about the fact that they even thought of you for it in the first place, and giving something a little bit back that, you know, maybe could build that relationship in a different way. But I would imagine being on the road so much, because you're going to be gone on this tour for a year. And then, you know, how do you find ways to maintain or even create new relationships with potential business partners? Because you're not just a drummer that goes out on tour. You also are a composer, and you work on films and you know, I remember the video series that you had worked on, Angie's Logs.
Yeah, the Invaders web series, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, how do you find ways to meet and build relationships when you're gone all the time?
It's hard. It actually doesn't happen that much, unfortunately. But what's good is the people that I have worked with, they keep using me. So, you know, I mean, it keeps me busy, and it keeps me sort of from falling into the trap of my whole life is about the show. Right. You know, like I did like actually what's great is from one of the producers of Angie Logs, her name's Marty Davis. She really likes me, and she'll throw my name into certain hats, and I don't always get the gig or whatever, but it's always nice to be thought of, you know. And so she got me this other film called More Time that I did over the summer, and it was really cool. It was working with a whole different set of people, and it was fun because instead of it being maybe classically driven, it was more like they wanted like a Thomas Newman sort of Score, yeah. So like, it was very minimalist and sort of, getting my omnisphere, trying to find the right omnisphere patches.
Which you can get lost in that land like the Sahara Desert.
Oh man, it was, yeah. Just trying to find like those glassy patches with like a piano sound and like, I mean, the film was very like sort of emotional and like, you didn't want to get in the way of the dialogue, but it would have been cool to like add one of those like Thomas Newman weird
sure.
like transparent percussion things to it.
Right. So do you take a mobile recording studio with you so that you can work while you're on the road?
Yeah, I do. I have some of the Spectrasonic stuff on my computer, and I have a backup hard drive, and Omnisphere, and I have like this little audio thing. It would be nice if I had like a mixing board and all that kind of stuff too.
Sure,
but, yeah. Since it's very mom and pop, and it's right now it's just more to keep me motivated and sort of write a little bit every day, just to kind of, because it's fun and I love doing it, and it also keeps my mind fresh.
Yes.
You walk around the town, tune gets in your head, you go, oh, I gotta go home and put this down now.
And you're like, well, I'll be home in June, so I hope I can remember it long enough to.
Right. I mean, I'm the opposite. I forget in like 10 minutes. I'm like, what did I do? Oh.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm always open to meeting people. People want to write me on Facebook, or whatever. I mean, for a while I was trying the Twitter thing.
Yeah, I gave up on that.
But it's just, I don't know. It's social media is hard.
Yeah.
Because everybody sort of has their own. A lot of people have their own agenda anyway. And I don't know. I mean, I'm always open to meeting people. Either way, I'd say one of the only kind of drag about doing what I do is that a lot of times I'll meet other people in the business, and they sort of typecast me as, oh, well, you're a drummer.
Right. Yeah. The associate, because that's how they meet you, or that's how they see you, so that sticks in their head as your association. Right.
And it's like I'm doing all this other stuff, and like people don't even like. Give me the time of day. I was like, hey, you want to come over and watch this movie that I'm scoring and check it out?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's maybe a second opinion or something,
Yeah.
And like, it's like, well, you're a drummer. Like, okay, it is what it is.
Well, I was thinking that it was kind of an advantage maybe that you do go to a lot of different major cities in a year, because you have the opportunity to actually have face-to-face meetings with people, which, yeah. I mean, you can meet people over the internet. That's great. Or over the phone or whatever, or even Skype. But having like a one-on-one, we're in the same room kind of meeting can really solidify a lot of relationships. So I was thinking that was kind of a cool thing for you, but maybe just because of why you're there, it works against you just as easily.
It does. I mean, part of it too is like knowing who to meet and knowing where to meet someone online in the first place before you even get to a city. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's nice about having local musicians, and that's actually what's great about doing theater, is you do get to meet people that are not just musicians.
Right.
You get to meet directors and choreographers and all this kind of stuff. But if they just see you as this is what you do, it's almost hard to get out of that pigeonhole. Mm-hmm. But I was lucky that the reason why I even got into film scoring to begin with was because a singer-songwriter that I played with, her name's Cassandra Kabinski. This guy, Mark, went up to her and said, hey, this Cassie, would you like to do my films? He's like, I don't really do that, but my drummer does.
Oh, man.
So and that's what started like the relationship between me and Mark, and that's what got me in the Avengers Boat series. And, so I mean, I just need a few more allies like that, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to make a whole career out of the film scoring thing. The Broadway drumming thing is my career, right. But it's nice to switch it up, and especially after a tour is over, if you're not playing a lot of gigs in town, and someone says, hey, you're working on 3 or 4 films, that'll pay the rent.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Well, plus it keeps you fresh. It gives you something different to do besides playing the same songs every night for a year. A lot of the performers that I know here, they love their jobs, they love what they do, and they love the music that they perform. But you also have to do other things to keep it fresh and just to keep yourself from going nuts, because it'll get boring if you're not breaking it up with other things. Absolutely,
yeah, and because of the theater union rules and stuff, you can't really get in the theater and practice. Mm-hmm. So this is sort of a creative way of getting to those places in my head.
But you could have a 4-hour drum tuning session, couldn't you?
Oh my God, that would sounds like my favorite thing ever.
No, I'm not rehearsing. I'm just tuning.
Yeah, I'm just tuning the drums, just for boom. Oh, that's a little sharp.
Yeah, just trying to get this ring out that takes some effort. Well, I wanted to ask you, because I've always wondered this. I've never done tours like you do, but I want to understand the reality of how it works, because you're gone for so long. How do you maintain your home? Because you just bought a house, which congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
But how do you maintain like the things that go on at home, paying your bills, just managing the day-to-day stuff when you're not at home at your desk and your accounting, everything's right there for you?
Sure. Well, I mean, thank goodness a lot of stuff is direct deposit now.
Yeah.
I mean, I like, what is the joke? There's an app for that,
Right. Yeah.
Like the mortgage, I just go to the app and I just pay it off every month and do that. I have a friend that comes and checks at my place about once a week. He just be like, hey, there's some mail here for you. And actually, we're in Philadelphia right now, so I'm actually going to go home on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of see how it looks. I haven't been there in 3 months.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I wasn't doing this, I look at it as, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be able to have that place.
That's very true. And I'm sure you tailor your life to make it easy to be on the road. Like, you probably don't have a fish tank.
No, I someone did buy me a cactus as a home housewarming present.
A cat? Oh, a cat or a cactus?
Cactus.
Oh, okay. Well, that can live for a long time without water. But I think your friend, if they go once a week, you're probably fine. If it was a cat, that would be a different story.
Oh, that would, yeah. My couch would be all scratched up. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't remember my room being full of stuffing when I left.
Yeah, what happened? Where did all this stuff come from?
Right. Do you get a chance to really, because you once you're set up, and other than like the sound check and stuff to make sure that all the equipment's working, do you really get out and enjoy the towns that you're in and see some sights, or are you kind of really locked down?
Oh yeah, no. The nice thing about touring like this is that, like we're here in Philadelphia for 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to, you can go after that Tuesday, unless I have rehearsal, like a put-in rehearsal or something. I only have, my whole existence is getting to that show, 7:30 to 10. I can do whatever I want when I'm not there. Mm-hmm. There's no like guideline. The only thing is, you have to be careful because you don't want to do too much. Because your whole point, also, because the thing is, your whole existence is to really do that show every day. That's why you're in town. Mm-hmm. So, like, like, for example, like there was on Wicked, we were in Hawaii, and we're there. And we're like, oh, let's go hiking. And by the time we got to the show, we were so tired.
Right.
Like what did we do that for? That was a bad idea. I mean, granted, you're in Hawaii. How many times you're going to go there? And you're seeing some amazing views. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was like, well, I mean, it wasn't like I played a bad show or anything, but it wasn't necessarily part of the most emphatic show I've played.
Sure. Well, you get the adrenaline before the show starts, and you're going to get through the performance. But yeah, I've never done a flight that long, and I mean, even just flying, when I went to Montreal, the flight was I think 4.5 hours, and even 2 hours in, I was starting to get kind of antsy because we drummers, we can't sit still anyway, and
right.
I can't. it's a shame because there's only really a couple places on my bucket list to visit, and Hawaii is one of them. I've never been there, and I'm just wondering how I'm going to get through the flight part, just because I can't sit still that long.
Well, I'll tell you what. I flew last year from New York to Japan.
Oh,
a lot of in-flight movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they let me bring a V Club kit or something on that I could play while I was waiting for to land. But I don't think they're going to let that happen.
Well, yeah, and then it gets kind of tight up there too, because you're sitting with 3 people, and you just gotta like see the big picture and like kind of look at the. All right, well, I'm gonna do this, and then when we land, I'll be in a whole different culture, and it'll be amazing. Or even Hawaii. Hawaii it's sort of an interesting place because you feel like you're in the States, but you don't feel like you're in the States. Mm-hmm. You're halfway there. There's a lot of Asian culture there because, it's so close to the Polynesian thing. And, so it's an interesting place. And also it doesn't look like, it looks, like a rainforest, a lot of it. So it just has a different vibe to it completely.
Yeah. I think, though, you nailed it, and you've said it a couple times on the show. It's really a lot about your attitude, how you choose to look at things. You can get up and you can look out the window and go, oh, God, it's raining, and I got to go to drive. I have to go to the store, and you can get bummed out, and you can let it eat up your day. Or you can go, oh, cool, it's raining. It hasn't rained in like a month. This is so nice to see. And the grass is going to get, and then you can make that day a pleasant experience. But I think these days it's almost like people want to find a reason to bitch and complain. And so any chance they get to do that, they do. And I love that there are people like you that have that attitude of, it doesn't really matter because my day is going to be how I choose my day. And not controlled by anything else. I mean, sure, if somebody just came up to you and punched you in the face out of the blue, you might not be happy about that.
Well, I think it's partly because, I think for me it's also because I've been on both sides of, people like say, oh, living the dream. But I kind of am. I mean, even if I say it facetiously sometimes, I think about where I was. Sometimes that was the whole thing. When I bought the house, the thing that was so interesting was that I thought about, 20 years ago, I would never in a million years have thought this was even a possibility.
Right.
Buying an apartment in Manhattan. I'm a single drummer. That's insane. Mm-hmm. There's no way I'm going to do that. I'm playing $50 jazz gigs.
But, right. And unless your girlfriend is supporting you, you got nothing.
Exactly. That's the whole joke, right? I'm a drummer without a girlfriend.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but here I am, just turned 40, and I'm like, okay, so now I have this apartment. Okay, never thought this would happen. And so, I guess for me, I try to be optimistic because, when before I got that circus gig, I was installing in hardwood floors. That was like rough work.
Yeah.
That was hard. And I get to play drums every day. How cool is that?
Exactly. But I think part of the problem with the entertainment industry is that because it's promoted with so much glitz and glamour, and because it looks good while you're doing it, like while you're on stage, oh my God, that's so cool. I get to play for a couple hours. But then you've got 22 hours before you're going to play again, and you're not home. You're on the road. So maybe you don't know where things are. You can't really take advantage of it, or maybe you have some friends that are there, but you're trying to sync up schedules. Like, it's not as glamorous, except for within those 2 hours. And I think the perception of it is, oh man, it must be great to be on the road all the time. You've got to deal with doing laundry, finding places to do laundry, and even down to the basic stuff. You can't it's just your machines aren't there. You're not home playing a gig on Broadway. So, what would you say to somebody who really thinks that this is just the life?
Well, it's funny. I mean, the show looks glamorous, but even if you go backstage, it's always glamorous. It's half the time, like we're just drinking coffee, like standing in a circle talking to each other.
Right.
Like at an intermission, it's, but the thing is for me is I was never interested in the whole being a star,
Mm-hmm.
being famous. I don't care about that. I care about playing music. That's what I want to do. That's for me, that trumps everything else for me.
Yeah.
Being on the road, you give up on a lot of things too. You give up, having a family or being with somebody, having a special significant other in your life. It's hard to do that when you're on the road all the time.
Sure.
So so I put those dreams on hold, or if ever.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's hard to do that when you're not on the road too.
Oh, I know. I was telling people, like, what's New York like? Well, dating in New York is a good way to feel terrible about yourself. That's what it is.
Yeah, or just dating.
Just dating in general. Like, I didn't realize that was a problem that I was doing. I realized I had so many problems.
Right. Yeah, thank you for bringing my horrible life to my attention. I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but so like music is like the one thing that, even when it kicks your ass, it's still music.
Yeah.
It's the playing part is what makes it all worth it.
Right.
You do give up everything up. But it's not. If you're in it to be glamorous or a star, you're kind of in the wrong profession. It's like people that go into music because they're going to make a lot of money. If that's your intention to make a lot of money, just go do the stock market. Go be a stockbroker.
Yeah.
Do anything else. I mean, the thing is, yes, I bought an apartment in Manhattan, but it took me a really, really, really long time to save up to get enough so I can make that down payment. And
right.
And then there, you co-op in New York, and they're like raking through your finances.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it is what it is. And I'm very fortunate to be where I was. I mean, when I had gotten off Wicked, I was doing wedding band stuff, mm-hmm. and I had all this money in the bank, but I wasn't necessarily working a ton because I've been away for so long.
Yeah.
So I was rebuilding a lot of those connections, and I remember I was like, I was on a tour, and I had kind of a down year, and I went to the bank and I said, I would love to apply for a mortgage. And they were like, you didn't make enough money.
Right.
So
yeah.
So what happened was when I did this Neverland tour, it was a tour that lasted about a year and a half. And then after I made a certain amount of money, I could go to the bank and say, hey, can I get a mortgage? I haven't shopped for another year.
Right.
And they were like, sure, and that's how I got approved. But it was not an easy road, to say the least. You have to put up with a lot of stuff too.
Sure.
The road is kind of, you just have to be able to adapt. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to, a lot of times the road, because you're together for so long with these people, it's more about navigating personalities. And, I'm finding it's a different world even now from when I was, I used to be the kid in the band,
right.
And now I'm like on this tour, I'm like the old guy, it's like a whole, and it's just a different thing. I mean, people that are like in their 20s now, they don't exactly, it seems like they're not exactly like how I was when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, things have definitely changed with the. I don't want to sound like I'm against the way that people are. It's just that the world has evolved into a different mentality, different mindset. I was telling somebody today, the one thing I think that we're lacking is an understanding of patience. When we were kids, right. If you wanted something and it was in England, you had to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get it. And now if it doesn't download fast enough, people start losing their mind a little bit.
Right, or Amazon Prime didn't deliver it in 2 hours. Like,
right.
What do you mean? And it's funny for me because I'm like, I don't mind waiting in line. What's the big deal?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. I went one day in the middle of the afternoon when I was working years ago for a mortgage company. And I had an hour for lunch, and I thought, I just want a cup of coffee. I'm going to treat myself to a Starbucks. And I go in, there's nobody in the whole place except for one guy who's ordering. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I don't even have to really wait in line. Well, he was ordering 27 coffees.
Wow. How was he going to carry them all out?
Well, that was the part that really got me, is no one went with him to help him take these back. It was literally him by himself. So they were putting them in boxes so that he could put them, on the back seat and stuff. But he turned to me in the middle of his order, and he just looked at me and he mouthed, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
I'm like, and I told him, I said, it's not your fault. You came in, this is what you're going to do. If I'm so impatient, or if I want my coffee bad enough, I'll wait. And if I'm impatient or if it's not important enough to me, I'll leave. That's totally on me. But how many people would walk in and just go, oh my God, of all the people I have to get through, and just get really upset and then have it ruin their day. And then everyone they interact with after that gets some of that fire and then takes that to the next. I mean, the what do they call that? The like the butterfly effect of that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just different, because it's sort of instant gratification, And I'm partly as my thing is, I'm trying to figure out how I interact with that. I'm not trying to put anybody on the bus or anything. I just mean, like, on the last two tours, there's been people that were like in their mid-20s, and there's been people. My last tour, there was a couple of us that were in our 40s, and there was one guy who was I think he might be 60 now. So it was like a good range of generations.
Right.
And it's just interesting, interesting to have the people that were in their late 50s, early 60s, because they'll take, the way it was back when we toured,
Right, yeah.
So it's all relative. It's all relative. It's just, this was like the last year or so was the first time I realized, wow, the world's kind of changing, and I'm trying to figure out how I fit into the world,
Yeah. It's tough, because it's not just the kids too. I think it's everyone now. I think the difference is that the kids now are brought up in a world of that kind of impatience and immediate gratification. And if you don't have that, something's really going to offset you. But we've watched that evolve over the years, whereas the kids today that's the world they're being shown as their foundation.
I mean, they're being taught that. It's not their fault.
Not at all.
No one's blaming anybody. I'm just saying these are things that as I get older, I'm starting to notice, even in the touring community. Because the thing is that the Broadway musicians, when I first started, the average age of people touring were in their 30s. There was maybe one person that was in their 20s that was touring. And now, because a lot of those other gigs have dried up, there's a lot more people in their mid to late 20s that are touring now, and it's the last great gig. It's a great gig to do what we do. We're lucky very fortunate to have this gig.
Well, I would imagine though that they're going to want a certain amount of seasoning before they're willing to commit to a 12-month tour with somebody. I would imagine that plays a part in why you would have to be at least a little bit older to get a gig like that.
Yeah, well, I think also there was also more gigs. So if you were a rhythm section player, you would play in bands.
Yeah.
So you had that whole experience of okay, well, this was me laying it down on playing strumming guitar stuff, or whatever it is. Where now a lot of those gigs don't even necessarily exist.
Right.
So where do you go? You go to the theater world, because that's where the gigs actually are. And it's just like anything else. To get in this business, it's all word of mouth, just like the film stuff, just like everything else.
And theater is one of the few places that you can almost always count on a fair amount of live musicians. I mean, you might supplement some parts with programming, but there aren't that many places to play anymore, even as bands. It's a lot of dance and program music and DJs, and it's almost becoming a lost art being a live musician unless you have a gig like you have.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm lucky to be trying to do it as long as I can.
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. I mean, even every time I look, it seems like every time I go on Facebook, another club in New York is closing, another place that has been around for like 30 years is going away. It's like
or a recording studio,
club. This past year we lost the garage, and that's where I played all my first gigs.
Oh,
ouch. It's like all the memories, and now there's like a French bistro now there. I'm like,
well, I hope it's tasty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That actually kind of leads me into something else I wanted to ask you about. I've done a lot of audio engineering at plays and different performances here in Vegas. But, for me, it's even in the, if it's a 3-week run or a 4-week run, they become a little family. And then, you see these people every day and you build these relationships and you really feel together, and then it's just done.
Yeah.
You've been through this a bunch of times now. Is there, do you still get nostalgic for the show or for that family, or are you able to kind of disconnect when it's over?
I'm probably more disconnected now than I used to be. Mm-hmm. I feel like, you know what it is? On the first couple tours that I did, it was sort of like, I got very close to a lot of people. And then once the show was kind of done, I was pretty young and impressionable. Mm-hmm. So I was like in my early 20s when it started. So it would be like, I would really attach myself to these people. And then eventually when the show would be over, it was over.
Right.
And then I wouldn't hear from anybody anymore. And I was really crushed.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm older, I get it more. Because, now it's I got the mortgage now. I got other things going on in my life that I'm concerned with.
Yeah.
And so the way I look at it is just like anything else, right? You go to high school, maybe you keep in touch with three people that you're pretty close with, right?
Yeah. But you all had the intention, right? When the you're signing each other's yearbooks or the day of graduation or that last day of school, it's we're going to keep in touch and we're not going to be like everybody else. And that'll last about 2 weeks, and then you're starting your life.
Then you go to college and you're like, oh, how's Jim's doing? I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. It is. And every tour is like that too. I feel like I have friends from tours, but most of them, I probably have about 1 or 2 people from each tour that I still fairly keep in contact with, even though we both kind of, because when you're touring too, it's like its own separate bubble.
Right.
So it is hard. It is hard, but I can think about 10. I have about 10 people from all the tours that I've done with that I keep in contact with, and pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And, especially with texting now, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
The technology certainly allows us a lot more connection, even though it seems like the more ability we have to connect, the less people seem to be able to do it.
Right. Well, because what is the connection based on? Mm-hmm. And I think the problem I have with a lot of the connections I have, especially in the entertainment business, it tends to be on the superficial side.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like when I think Wicked, I pretty much get along with everybody. Mm-hmm. But there aren't too many people I'm going to go out and talk about, philosophy with or right. It's just very hi, how are you kind of thing.
That cordial,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cordialness and that person's great and blah, blah, blah. And it's everything's over, oh, I love that guy. Mm-hmm. Do you love him? Love for me is hey man, that cat's in the hospital with appendectomy. When you go visit him, that's love.
Right? Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those words that people have learned to throw around very loosely. There's a few of those in our vocabulary these days.
Oh yeah.
it's like we just met, we're so in love. Well, you just met, so don't think you're so in love. You might really think you're going somewhere, or maybe you have some potential, but love
Sure.
is a pretty strong word for somebody that you just had McDonald's with.
Yeah, yeah, not even. I mean, just seeing them around the hallway. I love that guy. He's great.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is in the theater. It's like, oh, that guy's amazing. He's so nice. Like, yeah, it's kind of, not to bring up a person that's bad, but I mean, that's one thing like Louis C.K. was like a genius at. He found like words that people would kind of like hilarious.
Mhm.
Hilarious, really? That thing was hilarious. Did it make you lose your mind by being so funny?
Yeah.
That was like one of his things that he talked about. It was like, or awesome. Awesome is another one. People say awesome all the time. And it's like awesome is like supposed to be like this praising this incredible thing that happened and awe-inspiring.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, is a hamburger really awesome?
Yeah. Well, you'd be hard pressed to find one that's really awesome. Kind of awesome, maybe.
Yeah.
World changing, not so much. Yeah.
But I think part of it is people just trying to be positive. And I dig that. I dig that. But I just mean, like, sometimes with that, things kind of lose their meaning. So, like, especially in the theater, it's like, you have a lot of connections, you meet a lot of people, but how many of those people would really be, I think the way I started looking at it is, well, how many of these people are going to be really around when I need them?
Yeah. How many are real friends versus situational
how much are
friends?
Or friends versus acquaintance.
Right.
Yeah. I've made a lot of acquaintances, and like I said, I get along with most people, and unless someone really, really is a jerk, then we're going to be cool. Mm-hmm. But like, how many of them are people that I'm like, we're having a really hard day or something? Who am I going to talk to? Because that's one of the other things too that's hard about working in the theater environment is like, if you're having a bad day, you still kind of have to be on.
That's true.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I was like going to like the mortgage stuff, I mean, I had some really great friends on the Neverland tour, but like when I was going to some of that the mortgage stuff, last year or whatever, it was very stressful.
Yeah. And then you got to go on stage and be excited and play your part and, get everybody else in the band up. And that's not easy.
Yeah. And like, like, how are you? I'm so good. It's like, are you? Are you so good?
Right. Well, What are you hiding?
And it's sort of like, sometimes if I'm having a really bad day, I just say, do you want to know who I am, or you want to know what you want to hear?
Yeah. Well, but see, that's the thing is, are you talking to somebody who genuinely cares, or are you talking to somebody who says that because that's what you say when you see somebody for the first time that day?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's so, and those are the reasons why I sort of feel disconnected, I think, sometimes. It's not that I have anything against anybody or whatever. It's just more of a question of, as I get older, my college roommate kind of said it best. The people that you should gravitate towards are the people that show up.
Yes.
Like if you're having a thing, who's going to show up when you need them? Those are the people that you should really gravitate towards. And I like I said, I have a few people in my life that I've met on tours that would show up. Mm-hmm. But the majority of them probably think they would, and they might say they will, but they probably won't.
Right. And they'll say it with the best of intentions, though. They'll say it with man, if you ever need anything, you just let me know. But that's Absolutely. In that moment.
Yeah, and that's in that moment, and that's also like while we're on tour, where we're all kind of in a little bubble together. Right. But, then you go out in the world and you're in a whole different other bubble.
Yeah.
You get back to your real life bubble, I guess you'd say. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess that was a really long-winded answer to answer your question.
But it was a quality answer, so I'm good with that. Like we were talking about before the show, waiting in line. I don't mind waiting in line if it's for something that's worth waiting for.
Right. I'm sure the impatient people have already shut this podcast off.
Yeah, they've already unsubscribed, and it's they Thanks, Greg.
27 coffees. God.
Thanks for coming on the show, man. But what about the show itself? Do you get nostalgic ever for the show? Because I don't play as many shows as you do. So when I have one, like it's like, wow, I really miss this moment that I got to play on stage every night or whatever. But because you guys don't film them most of the time, I would imagine they're just memories in your archive.
Sure, yeah, and there's songs and tours. It's actually usually not about the music that makes you nostalgic. It's sort of, believe it or not, after talking about all that, it's the people. Mm-hmm. Like I'm here in Philadelphia right now, and like last year I had my birthday here in town. Mm-hmm. And, so I'm like walking around and like remembering, like, I remember when so-and-so said this or so-and-so did that. It's not even it's not so much of the music, but
those moments.
Another thing is, what it is? It's Tim Kazurinsky, who was one of our wizards. You know what Tim Kazurinsky is?
I don't.
He was Sweet Chuck on Police Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was like an SNL with like Eddie Murphy and those guys. Mm-hmm. And he gave me some really cool. It's probably one of the coolest things that I try to live by, and I think this will answer your nostalgia question. And it's sort of, people don't remember, what he said was, people don't remember what you say or even how you say it, but they will remember how you make them feel.
Yeah, that's very true.
And you think about any like great piece of music or art or friends or enemies, they all make you feel something.
Right.
Beethoven's 9, it makes you feel inspired. It makes you want to, run a marathon or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like the whole tuning thing in the beginning. I was sorry.
Right. Whereas the 7th makes you just want to walk off a bridge because that second movement is so depressing.
It's true.
No, that's very well said, because I think that's right. And you associate maybe the person that said it or the people that were with you at the time, but it's really about that feeling and about that. The memory of the feeling. Like I think why we get so memories come up when the weather's a certain way, or when we hear a certain song. It's not about the song; it's about the memory that song triggers.
Right. And actually, if you trace it further, it's not even necessarily like when I think of the shows. It's not even necessarily the music that I get nostalgic for. It's the people that I played with. Mm-hmm. That I get nostalgic for. Like, oh, remember when, there's okay, so one of my friends was this guy. It was on the Scoundrel Story. I'm not going to mention names, but it was one of the funniest.
Well, I know it wasn't the drummer.
No. So I was like, we were in St. Louis for Easter on this tour, and we only had one show. We had like a matinee and then we're done. And so I went up to this guy. I said, "Hey, man, it's Easter Sunday. Should we get something to eat after the show or something?" And he goes, "Oh, it's Easter? I'm going to go resurrect my career." I was like, oh. There's like all these stuff like that is like what you kind of remember. I remember when I did Fosse. There's this story of Fosse, the choreographer. Yeah. So they were doing the number from Sweet Charity, the Rich Man's Fruit, where they all have these cigarettes. And so they have to put the cigarettes in their pocket. And so this one guy was dancing, and he put the cigarette in his pocket, and the lining that's supposed to put the extinguisher out, extinguish the cigarette, it was sort of became not there anymore.
Right.
So,
oh no.
So he's doing this dance, right? And all of a sudden smoke starts coming from his jacket. and so the way the story goes is my friend Philip was dancing next to this other guy. And they're both dancing, and he's next to him, and he's like, "Hey, Corey. And Corey's like, "What, man?" He's like, "You're on fire." And he's like, "Thank you." Thank you, child. And he goes, no, you're on fire. And like he grabbed him and like pushed him towards the stage manager, and stage manager was waiting there with a fire extinguisher. It was like, but it's like, when it almost shows you, like, when you're in that moment, you're in that Zen moment of like, I'm doing my thing.
Right.
You could be on fire and not even know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even, when I'm working sometimes, I'll just gaze at, because I work with my window directly in front of me, but I always have the blinds up. So I'll notice at some point that there's light coming from the side of the blinds. And I missed the sunrise again by about 2 hours because I've just been so in the zone and, didn't even notice the world around me. You would think you would kind of at some point feel there a little heat maybe in your pocket area, but that's just it. You get so focused and so into what you're doing, the stage behind you could fall down and you might not even notice it.
Yeah.
He was okay though, right? No burn marks or anything?
No, he was fine. He was fine. You want to talk about glamour? I mean, this sort of summarizes. I mean, this is like terrible to me to say, but this sort of summarizes my career. Some days you play a show, you do it 8 times a week. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you play a show and it's like amazing and inspired and like you're playing and it's like so fun. And other days you're playing and you're just not you're trying not to pee your pants because you're like, oh my God, I go to the bathroom so bad. If I wasn't playing a show right now, I'd be in the bathroom. It's the reality of the situation. It's not always as glam as you think. It's like some days you're just trying to get through the show without having an accident.
Right. Well, yeah, because you're not feeling 100% every day. I mean, you're human. You're not. You still have ailments and things that'll happen. Some days you're just tired. Some days you just wake up with a little bit of a pain in your neck, and you've still got to go out there and play no matter what. But you also touched on something that other people I don't really think about a lot is the holidays. You're gone for the majority of a year. Your holidays are not spent with your family. They're spent with your band family and your theater family and whatever, whoever you're connecting with in town. And there really is a lot that goes into a production. It's not just about that couple hours that you're playing. I mean, it's a whole life.
Yeah, it is. It is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle choice. Mm-hmm. I think I've probably been away more Thanksgivings than I've been home these days. But you know what? But honestly, being a musician in general, you're kind of usually away for Thanksgiving or New Year's, or sometimes even Christmas. Because when I was home during the college years, I would do all those timpani gigs at churches on Christmas. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, at least on the road, like in some ways it's better, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I mean, you miss like the big family gatherings, but now with the way that at least my family's situated, like nobody's really home anymore. If that makes sense. Like everyone's all over the place because I grew up on Long Island. No one can afford to live on Long Island anymore.
Right.
Like my 2 brothers, they moved down south. My mom and my stepdad, they're down in Florida. My dad and my uncles and stuff, they're still on Long Island, but they're way out east. I'm in Manhattan. So like, even when I'm there, and then like when I was home, I remember even the Thanksgiving I was home, I was subbing on a show, and I got called to sub on the show on Thanksgiving. So it was like, well, I'm home, but like, I might as well be on the road.
Right. Yeah. There's really no difference because you're still not with your family. And of course, we always think it's going to be that Hallmark movie where we all just meet at the family cabin and everybody gets along. And then you find out somebody's hiding a secret and
Wow, you watch a lot of Hallmark movies, today.
Well, when you make Christmas music in July and when you live in the desert and it's 118 degrees, you've got to find some way to get in the holiday spirit. And,
right. So is this why you write this the horror holiday music?
Well, that's why it's become that. Yeah. The first one I did was the Mental Sauna Christmas one, and that was so difficult to get in the spirit of the holidays in June when I started working on it. And so I just, went on Netflix. I'm like, tell me that there's some Christmas movies that they don't delete during the rest of the year. And there were actually a whole slew of them. So that really kind of helped me just get at least in the zone, because I'm sweating like crazy in the studio. It's just it was 116 when I started the album. And it's just so hard when you're, I'm from Michigan. So like you being from New York, to us, Christmas is cold and snow and it's really hard living in an environment that isn't at all like that. And the opposite time of the year to get in that mood. So yeah, I watched a ton of Christmas movies during that time. With the haunted holiday stuff, I don't have to as much because I kind of know how to simulate it now and it's really more story driven. But for that album, certainly, yeah, that was a real challenge.
So did you watch that really bad movie with the Christmas Prince or whatever?
I did. I watched every cheesy sort of Melissa Joan Hart's Holidays in Handcuffs, the one where she was fake marrying Mario, or like she had stolen Mario Lopez or something from Saved by the Bell. It didn't matter if it was a Christmas movie. I was going to have it on.
I've watched it. I've sort of watched a couple of those movies myself. When you're like, hey, nothing else is on. I just finished, Mad Men or something. Let me go watch something like Fluff. It's cool. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I'm not quite ready to go through Breaking Bad again, so let's put on some Hallmark. Yeah.
Exactly. And, it's quote unquote research, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what it was. And that's why, obviously Netflix was a write-off because it was research.
Exactly. And if you're already paying for the subscription, you might as well use it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Greg, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. You're a great guy. You're one of those people that, no matter what's going on in the world, like I can just look you up and whatever the last thing was that you said will make me smile. And I appreciate the positive vibe that you bring to the world. You have a great attitude. I love that you appreciate the opportunities that you found, but you've made them happen. They didn't just come to you because you were in a good mood. You created all that. So good job, man.
A lot of it was, some of it too is, I guess I talked about it a little bit on Dean's thing. It's for trying to put yourself in a position to succeed. Like I said, like shedding the book for 3 months, before the tour even started, right? So like by the time I got to that first rehearsal, I knew it. So even if things really went crazy haywire, I could at least be comfortable with the work that I did. And sort of that gives you confidence, as opposed to you going there trying to sight read and then trying to figure out, okay, what's the actual tempo this is supposed to be at, or
right, yeah,
how many bars is this supposed to be, it's just little things like that, or like putting yourself in, putting yourself, like I said about the audition thing, like, okay, well, at least I'm part of the group, so
right,
let's, let me know when the next one comes out around.
Yeah, but you didn't let it go. You followed through. You found a new way to connect with that guy, and you made something out of nothing, because most people would have just said, well, that didn't work out, and walked away. And I think that's the difference between people that are successful and people that aren't going to stand a chance, or other than sheer dumb luck, are the people that find those extra steps that they can take to make a connection, because really the relationships are everything. You're not going to get gigs if people don't know who you are. You're not going to get gigs if people don't like you, no matter how good of a musician you are. If they're not going to want to spend 12 months with you, you're not going on that tour.
Sure, and that's the other thing too, is like, I got the Neverland tour because, one of my best friends is Josh Samuels, who's, we're competitive with each other, whatever that means. We're both going up to some of the same gigs, but he calls me up and goes, hey man, this Neverland tour is going out. I got to get married. So my wife's not going to let me go. Would you be interested in doing that tour? And that's how I was like, absolutely, I would do the tour.
Wow.
So it was like, I got to get married. I can't do the tour. Should I put you in touch with the contractor? And that's sort of what started these last 2 tours that I've done. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to get my apartment. All the things kind of fell in place because him and I we're fellow drummers. We're both going for the same gigs, but we hit it off immediately. And then Josh is just, you think I'm happy? He's like times 100.
Right. Well, I'm glad he had you step in and do the gig and not say, I got to go do this gig. Would you step in and marry my girlfriend?
Oh, that would have been weird. That would have been weird.
That would have been a little weird because, not giving her a say in it certainly would have not made her happy. Well, now, before we go, where is the movie More Time that you scored? Where is that at this point? Is that about to enter festivals or doing that circuit?
It is going to enter festivals. It got accepted. I think it got accepted to one of them, but you can probably find out. I think there's a website called like moretime.com. Okay. I can actually send you the actual link.
That'd be great.
Later when I find it. But he's been like Facebook messaging us like information, but like one of the festivals wanted him to put the film like online somewhere, and I think he wasn't quite comfortable with that. So
yeah, there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to that because some of them, you can't have ever shown it anywhere. They have to be the first ones, or they're not going to accept you. And then other places are, well, you have to have had it available for so long before we'll show it in our festival. We want to know it has a following before we'll show it. There's right. Such a crazy set of rules, and everybody's got their own game that they play with that. That's a tough thing to schedule, but I definitely wish you guys the best, and hope a lot of people see it and get to enjoy it.
I hope so too. I mean, it was a beautifully shot film. And when my parents came up and visited me in the summer, I showed it to my mom. My mom cried. I was like, "Oh, I did my job. You felt something. Yeah. You felt something. This is great."
As a composer, that's the goal. I mean, and a lot of times people with film music too, it's not necessarily about being heard. It's about being felt, almost a subconscious thing that you don't even realize it's playing. And if you can make somebody feel something in those moments, you've really got something special right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and granted, it's my mom as well, but it was also the subject matter. It was also about the subject matter, basically, it's not really much of a plot. It's just the whole thing is that, like, people's spirits come and, like, sort of visit them to get some more time with them before they pass on to the next thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's called More Time. So it's sort of like, so my mom was, spoiler alert, right?
Right.
So that's why my mom was like affected by it, and but also the music helped, and I'll give full props to the director and the team over there, because I had written a little bit more music than what's in the film now, so I had to.
Sure.
They're like, there's a little bit too much here. Can it be more sparse? And the way, like you said, felt not heard so much.
Right.
So but it was cool. It was a really fun collaboration because at least I was getting notes, but he was doing it very amicably, and he wasn't not happy with my work. It was just we can just make ways to make it a little better so it doesn't interfere with the dialogue. That's the thing. You just don't want someone berating you and making you feel like you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
It was the opposite of that. It was like, great, it sounds really good, but like, to just be a little bit less in the dialogues there. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the goal is the same for all of us. I mean, we're all a team trying to make the project the best project it can be. And if you want to get the best out of people, you treat them properly. You support them. You get excited when they do something, and you can. There's ways of telling people I don't like what you did or this doesn't work, that are mean or that are supportive. And if they're mean, you're not going to have a good reputation. They're going to say, "Hey, I didn't like working with this guy. He's kind of a jerk," or you know what, this guy
because you made them feel defensive.
Exactly.
You made them feel defensive. I mean, it was like I had the Conductor on the Neverland tour, he would just say something, but it wouldn't be like, it would just be very matter of fact. You knew, okay, don't cross that line. It was very cool. Let's say you did, like I did do something under the film. He goes, "Wow, that was kind of a busy film tonight, Greg, huh?"
Subtle.
But it made you laugh. But you said, "All right, I'm not going to do that anymore."
Right?
It was very cool.
I get your point, and I appreciate you didn't just yell at me for doing it.
Right, and it wasn't like he called you out in front of everybody. He just would come by and go, "Hey, that was kind of good tonight, huh?"
Right. Oh, yeah. See, that's what I mean. Like, those are the kind of people I like to work with. And really, those are kind of the people I like to keep in my life. I want positive, supportive, let's all work together to build things. And there's no reason to have egos or compete or whatever. We can all get there together.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. It's like, when you do a show, try to get your ego out of the way. Because it's not about you, it's about the show.
Right.
Same thing with film scoring, right? Like, it's not about you, it's about telling the story.
Exactly.
Because one of the components of telling the story. I mean, playing drums for a show is the same thing.
Right.
So
you just have the option of being louder than everyone else if you really wanted to.
Well, the sound guys these days can turn you down now.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of shows have V drums now, too. So, it's like, let's just turn that off.
A friend of mine who does a lot of live stuff, he was telling me that, he hates when they give him the V-drum kits. He likes the kits themselves, but when he's playing live and he really wants that snare to crack, or, he wants that kick to really come through, hitting it harder does not help. Once you've hit that 127 volume cap, it doesn't matter what you do beyond that. And it's so frustrating. He says he comes home really sore because he's constantly trying to be louder than the drum will allow him to be. And I said, well, stop playing those kits then, because that's not going to help you get there.
Either that, or you can turn your mix. I'm sure if you have D drums, you have to have some sort of way of mixing it.
Well, if he's got an external audio engineer though that's controlling it, if he's got the volume cranked to 10, it's kind of out of his hands at that point.
Right, but if he has, I don't know why I'm going to tell this guy to live clever than, but if he has his drums at 10 and he can somehow get a mix where everyone else is at like 7, then his drums will sound louder, and you'll find yourself not, psychologically, you'll find yourself not hitting the drums as hard.
Very true.
Because it's already loud. Mm-hmm. It's already probably where he feels it going to, where he lives, like when you're playing a regular kit. Because a regular kit, you play drums, and it's like, okay, the keyboards are not going to be as loud as the drums are because of the acoustics emission. Mm-hmm. So probably what he's missing is that thing of like, probably the drums have to be louder than everything else within his own mix.
Right.
And then everything will kind of be relative, and then he'll figure it out,
Find that balance.
Because at the end of the day, it's about not getting injured.
Well, if you want to play tomorrow, it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's my only thing as far as that stuff's concerned. Because V-drums does get kind of frustrating, because if you're playing within a mix, it's like, well, I don't know, frequency-wise, things can get lost and things can get kind of weird, so you got to kind of have the drums a little bit louder, I think, than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Otherwise you don't hear it. Then you
right.
Then you start playing louder, and it doesn't help. Like you said, it doesn't help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, once you've crossed the threshold, you can just keep hitting it. You could jump on the thing, and it's not going to get any louder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Greg, I wish you the guys the best of success on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That sounds like a fantastic show. I can't wait till you guys come to Vegas sometime next spring. But
we're coming in the summer.
Oh, in the summer, okay.
You're like June, yeah.
Oh, now I have to wait longer even.
It's a little bit of a wait, but hopefully it won't be like 400. You'll be working on your next Halloween album by that point.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Probably. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. Hope to have you on again at some point, and stay warm out there.
I would love to do a follow-up.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do a follow-up, baby. That'd be awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Cool.
We'll see you again soon, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be on, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real down-to-earth people. That's what I like. People that value and appreciate what they do. Not just the offers and the chances that they've been given, but the fact that they created those chances. They went out of their way to do something. That's why they're successful. And Greg is definitely one of those people, from the stories he was telling us earlier. So find that extra step. Find that thing that you can do that you haven't figured out yet. Something that's a little different to catch someone's eye. You never know where it can lead you. Have a great win, everyone. We'll see you next week.